So this is the video where I explain the two sort of more involved assignments for this course. So the first of them is that you're going to observe a child. And this child must be an infant or a toddler, so anywhere from birth to 3 years old. So under 3 years old. So if they've already turned 3, they're too old. So I want you to really think about someone aged birth through 36 months before their 3rd birthday. And you're going to observe them, and this can be an observation done in their home setting where they live, where they attend childcare, at the park, at your house, wherever. It doesn't matter where it is. It can be anywhere. So when asking a parent if you can observe their child, really what you're going to do is you're going to be looking for some specific things, and the observation assignment is already posted. I don't remember what week it's posted on, but it's toward the sort of like 2/3 of the way through the course. And then you can tell the parents that you're just going to observe the child, take some notes, and then write an assignment to me. You're not going to share that assignment with your classmates. And when you write to me about the child, you can use a pseudonym or the first letter in their name, their initial, so that it's anonymous. So you can share that with the family. And the reason I'm having you go out and to observe a child in real life is so that we're going to be talking about all sorts of ideas in this class. And so this will give you an opportunity to kind of view it in real life. When I teach this class during the school year, I have students do 2 observations, one in week 7 and one at the end at week 10. So they can see kind of growth during the quarter, because infants and toddlers change super fast. So even in just like 3 or 4 weeks, the child will have new words, or will be bigger, will be able to walk better, or maybe has gone from crawling to walking. Just a ton of changes happen. However, summer quarter is short, so rather than jam 2 observations in, we're just going to do 1 observation. So that's that assignment. So I encourage you. So sometimes it comes up, you can observe your own child, but you have to observe a child when you're not responsible for taking care of them. Does that make sense? So if you need to get them their milk, or comfort them if they fall down, or change their diaper, it's going to distract you from the observation. So whichever child you choose, it can be your own, but then someone else needs to be responsible for taking care of them during that time. And the same thing is true is if you're a teacher in an infant or toddler classroom, you can observe a child in your class, but you should have a sub come in when you're observing, or observe during your break, sometime again that you're not responsible for the kids. So I recommend that you find an infant or toddler now, make a plan now, and make an appointment with their parent or teacher in their early learning program, so that you have that assignment or you have that appointment already set. If you don't know an infant or a toddler, ask around to your friends, family, coworker, etc. But if you aren't able to find somebody, let me know. And let me know sooner than later so that I can help you find an infant or a toddler to observe. Okay? So that is the first kind of major assignment. The second major assignment, or the assignment that takes some additional coordination, is that you're going to interview 2 parents of young children. So you can interview a parent of the child that you're observing, right? That would be fine. But in general, you just have to have 2 parents of infants and toddlers, and you're going to ask them some questions about their childbearing practices. And the other requirement for this assignment is that one of the parents be of a different culture than you are. Okay, so one of the last, or maybe the last module in this course is focused on how culture affects how we raise our children. And so I have an example of that, and I'm going to talk about myself and my own culture. So I'm white, middle class, from the United States. And one of the cultural traits of white, middle class people from the United States is that we are, as a group, tend to value individualism. We tend to value the needs of the individual, sometimes above the needs of the group. And we really support somebody who's independent. That quality is valuable. So, like with all cultural groups, that's not true for 100% of white Americans. Those of you listening to this are like, that's not true about me. But in general, as a cultural group, independence and individualism is valued. So that has affected how I raise my children. So I have 2-year-old twins, and they sleep in a crib, or they don't sleep in a crib, they sleep in a bed now. But when they were infants, they slept in a crib in their own room. I put them in a crib in their own room. No, I put them in a crib the night they came home from the hospital. So right away, straight away, my daughters have slept in their own crib or own bed every single night of their life. They have never slept in the same bed with me, except for one time when we stayed in a hotel. It was a terrible night's sleep. But yeah, so day one, I put them in a crib, and then we moved them into their own bedroom together. I mean, they were together in the bedroom, but they were in a separate bedroom from us when they were 3 weeks old. So super early, right? It is so important to me that they sleep individually and separate from me. So important that we started that right away. I let them cry in their bed, not like to the point of they cried themselves to sleep, but I'd leave them crying for a few minutes to kind of settle, and then I'd go in and I'd give them a pacifier and kind of calm them down. And once they were kind of calm, but I put they were still laying in their bed, and I put a pacifier in their mouth. And once they were calm, I left the room and had them settle themselves. So that type of child rearing practice to somebody from another culture, a culture that's more collectivist in nature, where it's really common for babies to sleep with their parents, that might feel really like bad baby care, really, that I didn't know better, or that I didn't care about my babies or something like that. That behavior could be interpreted through another person's cultural background and be interpreted as poor baby care, right? So I have a master's degree in infant and parent development. I like and care about babies a whole lot. I was very intentional about what I was doing. I knew it wasn't coming from a place of ignorance. It was coming from a place of knowing what I wanted to do, but it being really in line with my values of sleep as an independent thing, and that my daughters were going to do that, and that I firmly believed that by us having independence from each other during the night, that it was going to refresh me so that I could give them my all during the day. So my parenting practice was influenced heavily by my culture, right? Now, what I did wasn't the right thing to do, right? People who want to sleep with their babies or rock them at night or sleep with them for a while until they're maybe a year and then put them in their own space, whatever. All of these are really, really valid ways to do it, depending on your culture. And so that's the point of the assignment, is for you to get to know what another family is thinking about child rearing, and to think about how that may be influenced by their culture, right? There's all sorts of things, because white middle class moms who do sleep with their babies, for example, that exists. There's a lot of variation within cultures about everything, but you talk. But what I did and how I raised my kids is still influenced through my culture, even if there's variation amongst cultural groups. So anyways, so that's the assignment. So you're going to have to find two different parents, and interview them about some of the choices that they made, and why. And just as a thought, as a practice in learning that different people do things in different ways and that they're all okay. Because as a teacher, as an early childhood educator, you're going to interact with all sorts of parents with all sorts of different views. And it's really important for you to recognize that your way to do things is not the only good way to do things. Now, there's some problematic things that we do with kids that are kind of outside of culture, right? Like, you can't, although it's also complicated, it's not simple to know where those lines are. So I'm not going to even draw one right now. But just know that a lot of what parents and caregivers are doing when they're different than one another, it's based on a different cultural perspective, and that you have to give value and credit to that cultural perspective and consider how it could be right too. Okay? And when you doubt yourself, think about your early childhood education instructor that put her 3-week-old babies in another room and let them cry for a few minutes to settle themselves down to sleep. And that will remind you that there's a lot of different ways to parent well. So, okay, so those are the major assignments. Let me know if you have any questions about that. And as you get into the module page, it'll remind you, okay, now's the time to set an appointment to do your observation. Okay, now's the time to set an appointment with the parent for the interview assignment. So I try to guide you that way. Okay, thanks so much.